Hello and good afternoon to our live session. Welcome. I hope you're all doing great. Yes, it's lunchtime across different parts, and probably you're somebody training for the Ielts. You're a candidate taking up an Ielts training session. Maybe you're doing self preparation, you might be working somewhere, but I'm sure this is one of the best times to have a live session. ഈ 1 മണി മുതൽ 2 മണി എന്നൊരു സമയം ഇസ് ഐ തിങ്ക് എ വെരി ആപ്റ്റ് ടൈം ബിക്കോസ് പല ഓഫീസസിലാണെങ്കിലും ഇൻസ്റ്റിറ്റ്യൂട്ട്സിലാണെങ്കിലും ഓർ ഇഫ് യു നോ അറ്റ് ഹോം ദിസ് ഈസ് യുവർ ലഞ്ച് ബ്രേക്ക് സോ യു ക്യാൻ വാച്ച് all details regarding IELTS every Wednesday along with your lunch. So today's session is on why or how do you lose scores when it comes to the IELTS test. So എങ്ങനെയാണ് നിങ്ങൾ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ എവിടെയാണ് നിങ്ങളുടെ സ്കോർ എപ്പോഴും പോകുന്നത് ഒരു ഐൽസ് ടെസ്റ്റ് അപ്പിയർ ചെയ്യുമ്പോൾ ഓർ വെൻ യു പ്രാക്ടീസ് ഇസ് വാട്ട് വി ഗോയിങ് ടു ഡിസ്കസ് ടുഡേ. സോ ഇറ്റ്സ് ഗ്രേറ്റ് ടു സീ ഓൾ ഓഫ് യു in our session here, and let me check out how many have joined us. I think yes, quite a few highs would be coming in. Nice. So I have Ogi Bhai saying when it will start. So Ogi, we are on air, we are live. Akshaya says voice is not clear. Okay, I hope I'm audible right now. So Gyuns Kamal says salam. Prasad says hi. So great to see people joining in our live session, and I hope it will be a wonderful session today. So ningal arengilum, are you somebody preparing for the IELTS? If yes, do let me know, because throughout this 1 hour session I'm going to give you tidbits on to how you can improve your scores, because I'm going to tell you exactly what are the things you should stay away from and things that you should be really careful about. Yes, so Gopika says hi, Akshaya Kedevan says hi, Helma says good afternoon Helma. I hope you're all doing great, and well, I'm trying to check out on YouTube as well. People who've joined us live, probably I can, see them and get to know what is their opinion regarding the session. Okay, all right. So we have Sophia Linda saying good afternoon, ma'am. Ankita Krishna. All right. So, ningal aarengilum IELTS ne prepare cheyyunundo? If yes, I wanted to share what are your concerns. നിങ്ങൾ എവിടേക്കാണ് ഒരു പ്രോബ്ലം ഫേസ് ചെയ്യുന്നത്, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ എന്താണ് നിങ്ങൾ ഏറ്റവും ബുദ്ധിമുട്ട് നേരിടുന്ന ഒരു മോഡ്യൂൾ ഏതാണത്, ഏത് ഏരിയയിലാണ്? ഫോർ എക്സാമ്പിൾ ഇപ്പോൾ റീഡിംഗ് ആണെങ്കിൽ ഏത് രീതിയിലെ ബുദ്ധിമുട്ടാണ് നിങ്ങൾ ഫേസ് ചെയ്യുന്നത്, or it could be writing, or it could be speaking. So I want you to share your concerns regarding the IELTS test, and in this 1 hour session I'm going to clarify all of it and ensure that you have a wonderful preparation to your test. Good afternoon from Tasni. Vipina says hi. Subjit says good afternoon. Shinto says hi. Ashraya Jaykumar says good afternoon. Well, great. So do type in because I'm going to share and read out your comments live. നിങ്ങൾക്കുള്ള സംശയങ്ങൾ ഞാൻ ലൈവായിട്ടാണ് ഇവിടെ എന്താണ് ക്ലാരിഫൈ ചെയ്യാൻ പോകുന്നത്. സോ നിങ്ങൾക്ക് എന്തൊക്കെയാണ് പ്രോബ്ലംസ് ഉള്ളത് IELTS പ്രിപ്പറേഷനെ കുറിച്ച്. നിങ്ങളൊരു ടെസ്റ്റ് ടേക്കർ ആണെങ്കിൽ, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഇഫ് യു ആർ എ കാൻഡിഡേറ്റ്, ഒരു ആസ്പിറൻ്റ് ആയിരിക്കാം പ്രിപ്പയറിംഗ് ഫോർ ദി IELTS. സോ ഡു ലെറ്റ് മീ നോ വാട്ട് യുവർ കൺസേൺസ് ആർ. So I have a comment from Ogi Bhai saying kindly speak only in Hindi or English. So thank you for that, Ogi. So I'll have a mix of English and Malayalam in this session. I'm sure you will be able to follow. Okay, so Ogi, if you can add, you can let me know what is your concern regarding IELTS, which is the area that you find most challenging. Do let me know. Yes, I'm waiting for your comments so that I get an idea. Well, on YouTube I have some wonderful viewers. Sneha Thomas saying good afternoon. Anupama Ramesh on YouTube saying good afternoon. Lakshmi P says hi, ma'am. Okay, so Sneha Thomas has shared saying that, ma'am, I'm facing issues in writing part. So Sneha on YouTube has commented that she has a problem with the writing part. So Sneha, if you can clarify which part of writing, is it task 1 or task 2? എന്താണ് എക്സാക്ട്ലി സ്നേഹൻ്റെ കൺസേൺ അവിടെ? വാട്ട് പ്രോബ്ലം ഇൻ റൈറ്റിംഗ് ഡു യു ഫേസ്? ഇഫ് യു ക്യാൻ ബി എ ലിറ്റിൽ മോർ സ്പെസിഫിക് ഇറ്റ് വുഡ് ബി ഗ്രേറ്റ്, ബട്ട് ഡോണ്ട് വറി സ്നേഹ, ഐ വിൽ ബി ആൻസറിങ് ദാറ്റ് in this session today. Well, I have another comment by Anisha Begum Ahmed saying on Facebook saying, listening part 2, always making mistakes. Okay, so another concern. So writing is one concern that Sneha has shared on YouTube. Another concern is by Anisha Begum Ahmed saying, listening part 2 is challenging. She makes mistakes there. So I'm going to give you tips on how you can improve that as well. Now Augie Bai says, I haven't booked and started preparing a few days ago. So you haven't booked your test yet, which is great because you need time to prepare. Alright, so let's get into the first question for the day that Sneha has asked regarding writing. Okay, wonderful. On YouTube, Sneha Thomas chodichoru question aanu, enganeyanu writing part I can avoid mistakes. So Sneha has clarified again on YouTube saying, I'm having problem in writing tasks too. No problem, relax. Now, what is the major issue in writing part 2? Well, be it any module, you need to first understand. Now for Augie, who has just started preparing for Ielts, let me tell all of you who are freshers into preparation. In the Ielts, what is Ielts? Well, Ielts is basically a standard English test. It's called as International English Language Testing System. That's the full form of Ielts. It is an exam that is accepted globally. So wherever you go across the world, whichever part of the world you want to apply for, maybe work, for studies, Ielts is a valid certification of your proficiency in English. So നിങ്ങൾ ഈ ഒരു IELTS ടെസ്റ്റ് പ്രിപ്പറേഷന് ആ ഒരു രീതിയിൽ തന്നെ ഇമ്പോർട്ടൻസ് കൊടുത്തിട്ട് വേണം പ്രിപ്പയർ ചെയ്യാൻ, ബിക്കോസ് ഇറ്റ് ഹാസ് എ വാലിഡിറ്റി ഓഫ് 2 years. So let's say you write your IELTS and you get a very good score. So if you go to Canada, you go to the UK and you're trying for part-time jobs, you can easily bag a job because you have a good score in your IELTS report. So അത്രക്കും important ആണ് IELTSലെ preparation അല്ലെങ്കിൽ IELTS എന്നൊരു ടെസ്റ്റ്. There are 4 modules or 4 skills that you need to prepare on, and you need to have a test on all the 4 skills. 4 സ്കിൽസിലാണ് നമ്മൾ IELTSൽ പ്രിപ്പയർ ചെയ്യുന്നത്. ഈ 4 സ്കിൽസിലും നമ്മൾ എക്സാമും എന്തായാലും അറ്റൻഡ് ചെയ്തിരിക്കണം. So what are these 4 skills? Just like any other language, listening, reading, writing, speaking. These are the 4 modules that you have to attend in the IELTS test. Well, recently there has been a change in the pattern of the delivery of the test. Now speaking test mostly happens on a different day, പക്ഷേ listening, reading, writing, this was the order that was followed earlier, but from now on, from July onwards, there has been a change in the pattern. So you start with the writing module first, then you go to the reading module, and only then you do your listening module. So there's a change in the order. Or sometimes it could also be writing, listening, and then reading, but you begin with the writing module. So it's important that you are aware of this change. So I think we have Suryasri S. Prabhu on Facebook saying, listening map question is too difficult. Well, Suryasri, no problem. In a while, I'm going to give you response as to how you can find it easier the next time you do a map question. Akshaya Devdas says, ma'am, my biggest issues while appearing the IELTS speaking, I am like and taking pause. How can I fix this issue? Well, great. So namku ipo kittiya questions ഒക്കെ on writing, then listening we have 2 queries, and then we have a query on speaking as well. So technically what I understand is you might have different problems with the different modules of the IELTS. So let's cover it one by one. നിങ്ങൾക്ക് എങ്ങനെയൊക്കെ ഈ problems overcome ചെയ്യാം, and I will sort it out in this live session today. So let's start with listening, and I think for listening is what we've gotten the most number of queries. Yes, so the listening first question is part 2 of listening. Now understand, in the listening test, the section is divided into 4. You have section 1, section 2, section 3, and section 4. So it's important that you're aware of what these 4 sections are. So the first thing you need to keep in mind is to be aware of or familiarize yourself with the pattern of the listening test. ഏത് രീതിയിലാണ് ലിസ്ണിംഗ് ടെസ്റ്റ് കണ്ടക്ട് ചെയ്യുന്നത്, എത്രയൊക്കെ സെക്ഷൻസ് ഉണ്ട്, ഹൗ ലോങ് ഡസ് ഇറ്റ് ടേക്ക് ഫോർ ദ ടെസ്റ്റ്, ദീസ് ബേസിക് ആസ്പെക്ട്സ് യു ഷുഡ് ബി അവെയർ ഓഫ് ഇൻ കേസ് ഓഫ് ദ listening module. There are 4 sections like I told you, and each section has a particular conversation or monologue. Now section 1 and 2 are based on a social context. So എല്ലാ ദിവസവും നടക്കുന്ന ഒരു സോഷ്യൽ സിനാറിയോ ആയിരിക്കും സെക്ഷൻ 1 and section 2 ഓഫ് ലിസണിങ്ങിൽ കവർ ചെയ്യുന്നത്. So section 1 could be a conversation. It mostly is a conversation. So conversation എന്ന് പറയുമ്പോൾ സെക്ഷൻ 1-ൽ നമുക്ക് 2 ഡിഫറെൻറ്റ് വോയിസസ് കേൾക്കാൻ പറ്റും. And section 2 is a monologue. Monologue means you will only listen to one person speak. So I guess it was Anisha Begum Muhammad Unni who said that listening part 2 is always, you always tend to make mistakes. Now Anisha, in part 2 or section 2 of your listening, you're going to listen to a monologue, and it's going to be an everyday social context. So that is one area where a map question is also possible. So I think Suryasri S. Prabhu spoke about listening map questions being too difficult. Well, so let me tell you what you can do. Now that you know that in section 2 of listening you're going to listen to only one voice, you should be thinking of what are the contexts possible. ഏതൊക്കെ രീതിയിലായിരിക്കാം എവറിഡേ സോഷ്യൽ കോണ്ടെക്സ്റ്റിൽ ഒറ്റൊരു വോയിസ് കേൾക്കാനുള്ള സാഹചര്യം വരുന്നത്. വാട്ട് സിറ്റുവേഷൻസ് കോസ് വൺ പേഴ്സൺ ടു സ്പീക്ക്? Can you tell me what are the everyday situations, not on the education context but on the social context, that you're going to listen to just one person speak? അറിയാവോ, നിങ്ങൾക്ക് ആർക്കെങ്കിലും അറിയാവോ? If you can, just share as a comment, because we are learning what IELTS listening is and how you can get over your difficulty of solving maps and part 2 of listening. So ഒറ്റൊരാൾ സംസാരിക്കുകയാണെങ്കിൽ what are the different possibilities, what are the different contexts that happens every day where you tend to listen to one person speak? Well, I can give you an example. It could be an announcement, right? So what do you mean by announcement? Like maybe, and I'm going to announce certain rules, or I'm going to announce certain instructions. So that could be a context of section 2 of listening. Or you might listen to a tourist guide. This is a very popular type of conversation. Or a tourist guide സംസാരിക്കുന്നതായിരിക്കും നിങ്ങൾ സെക്ഷൻ 2-ൽ കേൾക്കുന്നത്. So if it's a tourist guide, so imagine I am a tourist guide and I'm going to explain or talk about or describe a particular tourist area. So I have a team of tourists with me and I'm talking to them about the beautiful things around me. So നമുക്ക് എല്ലാവർക്കും കോമൺ ആയിട്ട് അറിയുന്നത്, so Suryasri S. Prabhu says, is it some announcement? Possibly. It could be an announcement, Suryasri. It could also be a tourist guide speaking. Like let's say, imagine I'm taking all of my viewers on a trip to observe Taj Mahal. ഞാൻ താജ് മഹൽ കാണിക്കാനാണ് നിങ്ങളെല്ലാവരെയും കൊണ്ടുപോകുന്നത്. So if I'm the tourist guide, I'm going to tell you about Taj Mahal. I'm going to describe, saying, okay guys, so this is that one wonderful monument that you've all heard about, and it's called the Taj Mahal. And then maybe you'll have sounds like yay, woo and all that, but nobody will speak. It's going to be a single voice. So then I introduce Taj Mahal and I'm going to tell you, okay, so this is the epic monument, the historical piece that you've heard about, that was constructed by Shah Jahan. So can you see over my right? So it's a listening test, remember. You're not going to see anything visually, but then you can start imagining. Okay, so I'm in front of Taj Mahal and this tourist guide is explaining to me as to what are the different things that you can see around. So the tourist guide would say, so you can see to the right, that's the main entrance to the Taj Mahal. So this is how a map works. So one of you had asked me, I think it was Suryasri, regarding maps. Now, when you're solving maps and listening, you have to be very careful about direction. Okay? So, if I say, look at my right, which is my right and which is your right? Well, consider that the direction that you're facing the question paper, and so that is your right and the left. You don't have to consider the other person is looking at you, he's facing north, east, west, south. Do not worry at all. So when I say right, there's a starting point, and as you're facing the question paper, your right is the right that the speaker is talking about. So right and left is the same. Okay, so you're going to listen to a lot of direction words here when it comes to maps. So one way of sorting your problem, Suryashri, because you find it difficult when it comes to solving maps, is to ensure that you know direction words. Well, let's help Suryashri. നമുക്ക് Suryashri ഒന്ന് ഹെൽപ്പ് ചെയ്താലോ. എന്തൊക്കെയാണ് direction words? Map എന്നൊരു map questionil, അതായത് if I am a tourist guide and I am explaining what Taj Mahal is and how to enter it and the different aspects or parts of the monument, what direction words might I use? Can you share as comments some direction words that you can think of? For example, I can say turn to the right. Other direction word aanu. Look straight is a direction word. So I'm looking for responses. If you can share the different words to show direction or location. Can you think of some words like that? Well, we have a lot of people watching us live. Gokul is watching, Ambika Krishnan is watching, Hani Hanish is watching, Pramila Rai is watching, Ashwati R is watching, Anne Maria, great. Shibi John, Navya Rajivan, excellent. So I'm looking for direction words, guys. Let's see, is it my viewers on YouTube who respond first, or do I have responses from Facebook? Words to show directions or locations. Great, I have a contribution on Facebook. Lindu John has said turn to left. Excellent, that is a direction word. Now Ogibai has shared saying looking for restaurants. Okay, but Ogi, if you can add words to show direction. Great, on YouTube I have Magicia N saying beside any building. So beside is a direction word. Excellent. So turn to left is a direction word. Beside is a direction word. Great. So can I have those comments on screen, please? If you can copy what Magicia has shared on YouTube. She says beside any building. And we also have Lindu John on Facebook sharing turn to left. So probably it will take time, it's live and there might be a delay, but yes. So Sheba Abraham on YouTube says behind, beside, next to, near, adjacent. Excellent, Sheba. These are all words that show directions or locations. Can I have more contributions on Facebook? Great. So Soumya Michael on Facebook says she's not ready to give up and she's given us a good list of words. So Soumya adds left, right, beside, north, south, east, west. Great thinking, Soumya. Near, far, away. Excellent. So Soumya Michael has given a good list of words. We have another of our Facebook viewer, Blessy Rachel Boban, and she says nearby. Great. Well, this is interesting competition because on YouTube we have Atira Muralidharan saying north, south. Well, yes, north, south are direction words. Great. On Facebook we have Suryashri who's shared saying most of the time they mentioned about west and north. Great. So Prince Joseph on Facebook says go forward. Excellent. And we have Lassie Rachel sharing another word, distant. All right, on Facebook itself, we have Ogibai, who shared the idea that he is just preparing for IELTS. He's gotten into IELTS recently, and he shared a set of words, and the words that he shared are up, down, can be added in direction words. Well, yes, up might not be very much, because we need to think of everything in a 2D dimension. So we mostly don't say up, but we say to the north. Okay, and we mostly don't say down, but we say to the south. Okay, so we cannot say up of that building. You can say above that building, or to the north of the building, or you can say to the south of the building. All right. So on Facebook we have, excellent. This is getting really exciting, because I think on YouTube also we have excellent words shared by, again, Magicia says opposite to, at the end of the line. Well, I think they're all aspirants preparing for the IELTS. They're aware of what kinds of words they listen to. And again on Facebook I have Linto John sharing words like front, back, turn around, other side. Great going. So Sureshri, this is my tip to you, because you said that solving maps is quite challenging. Well, our viewers on YouTube and Facebook have shared a good list of words to show directions and locations. അപ്പോൾ നിങ്ങൾ ചെയ്യേണ്ടത് ഈ വേർഡ്സ് നിങ്ങൾ ഫെമിലിയർ ആയിരിക്കണം. You need to be aware of what these words are and to which point these words point to or talk about, all right, or mention. So if let's say you say to the north of the building, so if you're facing the question paper, whatever comes to the north as you see it is the north. So it's very important that you're able to follow directions. Use a pencil when you're doing a map question and draw lines as you listen with arrow marks. So there is always a starting point, okay, and it would have been mentioned as where that starting point is. It's mostly the entrance, and from there you follow the directions as the speaker speaks. So the speaker says go straight. So from the entrance point you're moving straight with your pencil, all right, and then the speaker says 2 blocks to the right, or take a sharp turn to the left, which means sharp turn to your left. When you're facing the question paper, your right and your left is what you have to follow. So if you can, this is one tip that you can take away. If you can use your pencils and mark the area as the speaker says, it becomes so much easier to follow a map question. You will not find it difficult anymore, but you should be clear of what your right is, left is, north and south is. So make it a point to draw the directions on top of the paper and mark it as north, south, west and east. I hope this tip helps you. So this is also to Anisha Begum, who said, listening part 2 is section 2 is difficult. Now one reason why it is challenging is you're going to listen to a single voice. നിങ്ങൾ ഒരു വോയിസ് മാത്രം കേൾക്കുന്നത് കൊണ്ടാവാം പലപ്പോഴും നിങ്ങൾക്കത് ചാലഞ്ചിങ് ആയി തോന്നുന്നത്, because there is no voice change over. But in section 1 of speaking, because you're going to listen to 2 different voices, it is so much easier, because one person asks a question, the other adds an answer. So you can follow question, answer. But when you're listening to one voice, it's so difficult to understand or follow a changeover from one idea to the other. But if your question is map in section 2, this is the tip that you can apply. Just use your pencils and mark the area as you listen to the description. So Augie asks, may I have the schedule? I want to continue watching every lecture. Well, Augie, we go live. MedCity goes live on Facebook and YouTube every Wednesday at 1 o'clock. And this session is completely dedicated to IELTS candidates like you. So if you are an IELTS aspirant, just watch our live session. Now you need to know when we turn up live. It's very easy. Just click the follow button on our Facebook, like our page and all our updates will come right into your inbox, so that the next time we host a live, you will be aware of what the topic is. Alright, so now at this point, I'm going to share a wonderful resource material which is called as Ielts Maestro. Now for Augie, for Suryashri, and for many others like Anisha Begum, Blessy Rachel, Prince Joseph, for all of you who are preparing for Ielts, this is an excellent resource material prepared by MedCity. It's called as Ielts Maestro. It's a complete self-help reference book. You can easily purchase the book on our website, which is medcityinternationalacademy.com. This book is also available on Flipkart and Amazon. You can get free delivery anywhere across India. This book has sections for each of the 4 modules. There is a complete section for writing. You have sample answers to essays. You also have task 1 samples, letter samples, reading strategies, listening strategies, and speaking strategies with sample answers and a huge question bank. This is right now available at 50% off as our Independence Day offer. So ningalil aarengilum IELTS prepare cheyidundengil link cheyan aagraham I would definitely say this is one book you should have in your kitty. Ielts Maestro, you can easily find us on our website itself, which is medcityinternationalacademy.com, and we are available on Flipkart and Amazon, so you can purchase from any of these websites. Alright, so if you have any problems purchasing this book, all you need to do is get in touch with us and we'll make sure that the book reaches you. Alright, so we have another person saying, I think his name is, I'm very sorry if I read it wrong, but it says Dattatreya Samkadu. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing it wrong, but it says, can you talk in Marathi or Hindi for Indians? Well, I think I would say, English is one language that we'll stick to because a lot of Indians can of course understand. I'll not be able to speak in Hindi right now because a lot of our audience are English speaking. Not everyone speaks in Hindi. And probably so that he understands, let me say, हमारे लाइव हम अंग्रेज़ी में या हमारे जो मदर टंग है मलयालम में ही करते हैं. हिंदी में अभी हमारा लाइव करना थोड़ा मुश्किल होगा क्योंकि जो 50% या 90% ऑफ आवर व्यूअर्स है वो सब इंग्लिश या अंग्रेज़ी जानते हैं, इसीलिए we'll do our live sessions in English and Malayalam. So hope you understand. Thank you for that comment, but yeah, we'll consider that. So MS Vaishak I think has already responded to that comment saying this is IELTS and we are learning English. Thank you, Vaishak, but probably that person does not follow much of English, so we do understand that, but we have our constraints to have a live session in any other language other than English or Malayalam. Thank you so much for the comment anyhow. Alright, so I have a question again on YouTube. Let me just trace it. And Magician says, what can we do to improve writing? Alright, so listening idana nammal parna tips. That is, you need to know what the 4 sections are and make sure you're very clearly aware of the strategies that you can use to solve each of the question types. ഒരു വലിയ ലിസ്റ്റ് ഓഫ് ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ ടൈപ്സ് തന്നെയുണ്ട് ഇൻ IELTS ലിസ്റ്റിംഗ്. യു ഹാവ് തിങ്സ് ലൈക്ക് summary completion, you have table completion. Now you can have form completion. Oh, you might also have, let's say, maps. You can have multiple choice questions. So there are these couple of questions that are possible in listening. So make sure that you're aware of how to solve each of these question types. And the best technique to solving your listening is to practice as much as possible, because nothing will help you more than practice. Now some students, ചില കുട്ടികൾ എന്താ ചെയ്യുക വെച്ചാൽ അവർ 2-3 listening practice ചെയ്യും. They'll just practice a couple of listening tests and they feel they're able to score and they don't practice it anymore. And that is one big reason why you find listening challenging. Alright? Now if you find it difficult to follow the conversation or accents in English, make sure you listen to a lot of supplementary listening materials. TED Talks are wonderful. You can listen to celebrity interviews, celebrity talks. You can listen to news on, let's say, international channels, and that would really help you. Okay, so we have Akila Susan on YouTube again asking a question regarding writing itself, and Akila had a question in that. Akila Susan asks, ma'am, can you explain the structure of writing task 2? So I can see that there are a lot of queries coming up for writing. So let's jump next to the module writing, which is something that many students have queries regarding. Well, relax. Let me first tell you that in your Ielts, you have to answer 2 writing questions. You have a writing task 1 and you have a writing task 2. Now, in writing task 1, if you are somebody writing the academic Ielts, you will have to write a report. But if you're looking for a job or you're looking for PR, which is migration or migrating to a country like Canada, Australia, you will need to write the general training version of Ielts. And in that case, your writing task 1 will be a letter writing. So task number 1 is either a report or a letter. Now task number 2 is always an essay, and I think writing task 2 is one difficulty or one big challenge for many candidates. Well, relax, because like Akila Susan asked, if you know the structure of the essay, if you're aware of what you need to write or how you need to write it, it becomes so very easy. So can you tell me what is an ideal structure for an essay? If you are preparing for the Ielts, I'm looking out for comments. എന്തായിരിക്കണം ഒരു IELTS essay writing the structure? What would you recommend? This is to help Akila Susan. Magisha says it's difficult for writing is difficult, and I think there's somebody else. I think Sneha spoke about issues on YouTube regarding writing. So can you share what do you think, or what in your perspective is an ideal structure for writing an essay? Okay, so there is a question by Brinto Divya, and Brinto on Facebook asks me, is any chances to change Q card after September? What are the changes, ma'am? Brinto Divya has asked a question regarding speaking, regarding changes to Q card after September and any other changes. Well, great. Brinto, I'll come back to you. Now we're discussing writing, and soon after discussing this writing module, we shall jump over to the speaking module. So I have Atira Muralidharan on YouTube sharing a comment, and she says, paraphrasing, overview and 2 body paragraphs. Okay, so Atira, my question is regarding essay writing, and overview is probably something that we write in a report. So that is task 1. So let's talk about task 2, which is essay. So do you need an overview in an essay? Not really. So what is the structure that each of you follow when it comes to writing an essay? Can you share the structure that you use? It could help another aspirant out here watching our live session. So Atira, I would say the one small change here into what structure you have shared is paraphrasing, of course, which is called as the introduction. So it's important to write the introduction, and then we go ahead with 2 body paragraphs and a conclusion. That's very ideal. Alright, great. So Atira says sorry. Atira, that's completely okay. Sorry, accepted. Sneha Thomas on YouTube says introduction, body paragraphs and conclusion. Excellent. Alright, again on YouTube, so we have a very active YouTube team all ready to learn the IELTS module, joining our live sessions, which is great. So we have Akila Susan also sharing on YouTube that the structure is introduction, thesis statement, body 1, body 2 and the conclusion, which is again excellent. Thank you, Akila, for that. Adara Muralidharan has added again on YouTube saying, paraphrase the question and write as thesis, which is the introduction. Great points coming up. On Facebook, we have Soumya Michael who've shared, must have an introduction, which is paraphrasing the question, body 1, body 2, and a conclusion. Great! So I guess all of us agree on to what structure we should have when it comes to essay writing. Is there anyone who would not agree with what our viewers have shared? Well, definitely I would agree with our viewers, because we need to have at least 4 paragraphs in our essay. We start off with the introduction, we go on to the body paragraph, so body 1, then we have a body 2 and a conclusion. So 4 paragraphs are of course a requirement indeed. You cannot have just 3 paragraphs in your essay. So 4 is a minimum requirement to your essay writing, and you could go up to excuse me, and you could go up to a total of 5 paragraphs, maybe 6, not harmful at all, but I would definitely suggest 4 to 5 paragraphs. Well, at this point you might be wondering, okay, how do I learn all this? I mean, this is just a 1-hour live session we give every Wednesday. Is there any other method that I can use to learn more about IELTS? Well, yes, I'm going to show you, in addition to IELTS Maestro, we have a wonderful resource that I'm sure will be 100% helpful to our students. It's our MedCity IELTS app. So you can see on screen our IELTS app. It's easily available on Android, on the Android version, so iOS and Play Store. Okay, so you can download the Android version on Play Store or App Store. You can use the iOS version. You have over 45 to 50 hours of video lessons on IELTS listening, reading, writing and speaking, practice materials for listening, reading, writing, speaking and IELTS grammar. You have lots of mock speaking videos with feedback, sample essays, sample report writing, strategy lessons for listening and reading question types. All of these is available in MedCity IELTS app. And you know what the biggest advantage is? You also have IELTS related grammar lessons. Well, it's available for free download. You can have access to a set of videos, and if you're interested, you make a small payment of 500 and you get access to the app for 1 full year. So do check out our MedCity IELTS app. It's a wonder app. I'm sure it's going to help all of you out there who are preparing for IELTS keep up to all the requirements that are there right now. Alright? Yes. So Magicia asks, is it free? Yes, Magicia, you can download it completely for free. You have a certain set of videos available for free, certain set of practice materials available for free. But if you're interested to get more detailed videos, you just have to make a very small payment of around 500 rupees and you have access for 1 full year. Isn't that just wonderful? It is. So go check out our app as soon as we're done with this live session. Alright, we'll also share in the description of this live session the link to download the app, so you can check it out once our live session is over. Alright, okay, that's great. So yes, we were discussing the structure of essay writing, and this is the most accepted structure, I would say the most ideal structure that you can use when it comes to IELTS essay writing. You have an introduction, you have 2 body paragraphs and you have a conclusion. Now I think Sneha spoke about initially saying having problems with writing tasks too. The main reason you might have a problem is you're not aware of the question types. So നിങ്ങൾ ആദ്യം ചെയ്യേണ്ടത് എത്ര different types of questions ഉണ്ട് IELTS writing എന്ന് കൃത്യമായി മനസ്സിലാക്കണം. There are around 4 to 5 different types of questions possible. One example is, do you agree or disagree? Akila Susan asks, ma'am, can you, where are you here? Explain. Okay. Yeah, great. Can you explain the structure? Fine, sure. So yeah, you have questions like, do you agree or disagree? You have a question like, do the advantages outweigh the disadvantages? The question could be, is this a positive or a negative development? A question could be, discuss both sides and give your opinion. So you have various kinds of questions like, what is a problem? How can it be solved? So number one, make sure you're aware of all the different question types. And these question types are available in the app that I showed you. So you have video lessons, separate lessons on each of these question types. And I'll also tell you what the structure is in each of these question types. Well, overall, you need to have an introduction, body 1, body 2, and a conclusion. But the kind of sentences you need to include in each of these different question type is slightly different. So that is where the app will be helpful. Even in our Ielts Maestro, we have sample answers. So if you just go through the sample and the strategy lessons, you will know exactly what you need to do to write an essay. Alright, so with our Ielts resources like Ielts Maestro and MedCity Ielts app, you will not have a problem with your writing anymore. It is guaranteed. So check out our book. So if you feel, I'm sure you will find it really useful. So you should definitely try it. So Augie Bhai says he has installed the app, which is great. So Augie, just go through our free videos right now, free practice materials right now, and if you feel it's really nice, just make that small payment and have access to all our videos. All right. Thank you, Augie, for sharing the idea that you have installed the app, and he shares it on Facebook, which is brilliant. Okay, all right. So now moving on to the next question, asked by Brinto Divya on Facebook, and Brinto asks regarding changes in the cue card after September, which is basically the speaking module, and about any changes that are expected. Number one, relax. There aren't any major changes. So Brinto and all the others who are preparing for the Ielts, you don't have to worry at all. There aren't any major changes. If at all there will be changes, of course, we will put up videos. So make sure you like and subscribe on YouTube. Definitely subscribe our YouTube channel so that every time we put up a new video, you will have a notification popping up and you will know if there is a change in the Ielts structure, format, or any such things. Similarly, if you follow us on Facebook, again you'll get all the latest updates. Okay, Akila has asked a question regarding writing. I'll just get back to you, Akila, but let me complete Brinto's question here. So Brinto asks if there are any changes. I say no, there aren't any big changes as of now. And regarding the cue card, I would definitely say, now, the cue cards that you see right now, out of the 100 cards probably, let's say I have 100 cards with me, out of which around 70 cards were cards that were used way ahead, like maybe 8 to 10 years ahead. The same cards are used even now. Okay, so maybe around 20 to 25 or 30 or 50 new cards are added, but the remaining are all cards that have been circulated from a very long time. Probably from 2012, 2013 onwards, we've had these same cards. So don't think there is going to be a massive change or something new happening in cue cards. You can practice using the same cue cards. And if at all you get something new, all you need to do is relax. Because in a cue card, you just need to answer like you're telling a story. Okay? No matter what question you get, relax. You can create and tell it like a story. It need not be something that you've always experienced. It could just be something you never know, you don't know, but you created. Like for instance, the question could be, let's say, talk about a time you were punished in school. Now you got this card, you have to speak about it. But like me, let's say you were a very extraordinarily brilliant student in school and you were never punished ever. So how can you answer this? Because you've never been punished. But because you've been given this card, talk about a time in school when you were punished, you have to speak, because ultimately the examiner is checking your language ability. So what do you do here? You cannot say, sorry ma'am, I don't know, can you change the card? No. Instead, I have to use the 1 minute preparation time to think of ideas and stories that I can include. And in the next 2 minutes, I'm going to create a story and speak. Maybe it could be something that happened to my friend, or a story I've seen in a movie or I've read in a book, but I create it as my story. And I say, okay, so when I was in my 10th standard, I was punished because of, and I start telling a story there. Remember, all you need to do is showcase your language ability there, and nothing else really matters. So relax. So Brinto, I hope this has been helpful. Do not worry, if at all there are any changes, we'll update you on our Facebook and YouTube pages. So make sure you subscribe, you like and follow all of these. Yes, so back to Akhila Susan's question regarding, so on YouTube, Akhila has shared a question. If we can have it on screen so that probably the others can also see. Okay, it says, ma'am, in question, do you agree or disagree essay? Do we want to explain both the cases? Well, Akhila, in such a case, the question clearly says, do you agree or disagree? Which means you have to choose one of it. It's like, can I bring you a cup of tea? You have to either say yes or no. You cannot say both, right? There is no both possible. So when you say you agree or disagree, you say one of it. You either agree with it or you disagree with it. Because the question that you ask is, do you agree or disagree? So you just have two options. It's like yes or no. Do you want to go out for dinner? Yes or no. You can just say, yes, I want to go out for dinner. Or you can say, no, I don't want to go out for dinner. You cannot say, yes, I want to go for dinner and no, I don't want to go, right? Similarly, do you agree or disagree can either have an agreement point or a disagreement point in your essay. Choose one of it. And make sure your entire essay is focused on that one idea you've selected. But if the question is, to what extent do you agree or disagree? That's where possibly you can have a balanced opinion. To what extent do you agree or disagree? How much do you agree or disagree? That's a question. So when the question is to what extent or how much, you can always have a balanced opinion also. Okay, I said also, not mandatory. So even for a question like to what extent do you agree or disagree, you can still stick to a fully agree essay or a fully disagree essay, which is perfectly fine. Alright, so Smita Shivadas asks on YouTube, ma'am, for task 1, writing introduction, overview and 2 body paragraphs, or is it introduction, body paragraphs and overview at the last part? So thank you, Smita, for that question. I think some of our students might have a question regarding that. I mean, whether we need to have overview in the first half or in the second half. Well, I would say the ideal position for an overview is in the first half, which is what Smita has shared initially. So Smita says, like, the first half, I mean introduction, overview, and then the 2 body paragraphs. That's ideal. Now you might ask why. Because see, when I write the introduction, Smita and all the others, when I write the introduction, the examiner reads it and knows, okay, I have paraphrased the question. Now when the examiner reads the overview, the examiner gets an idea as to what to expect in the report. The overview could say things like, if it's a line graph, it could say things like, in an overview it is clear that the rate of recycling of plastic was the highest throughout the years when compared to the recycling rate of, and maybe say, plastic was the highest when compared to the recycling rate of paper and cardboard. So here it's very clear that I've identified a trend. So the examiner is expecting something from that overview. You're giving an overall idea about that diagram in the overview. So it is mandatory to include your overview in the first half, just after your introduction. And even if it's a process diagram, in your assessment criteria, make sure all of you download the band descriptors. Now the band descriptor is included in the Ielts Maestro book. It's also there in our MedCity Ielts app. from 0 to 9 what each band says, and depending on the assessment criteria what you need to showcase. So clearly for a band 7, it's marked that you need to have a clear overview. So if it's a process diagram, you have to clearly mention the number of stages in the overview. If it is a line bar pie table, you need to speak about the different trends, comparisons possible in the overview. Now you have marks for that, which is why we bring the overview all the way to the top right after the introduction. So we write the introduction, we write the overview, followed by the 2 body paragraphs. So Smita, Shivadas, I hope I've answered your query, and I've also made it clear as to why. I hope it's also clear as to why an overview is important. So that was indeed a very, very interesting question from Smita, which I'm sure many others would also have a similar query in their mind regarding the structure that they need to follow when it comes to report writing. Well, I think many questions that came in today a majority of course were regarding writing module. We did have questions on the listening module, and we also had questions regarding the speaking module. So one module that is remaining is the IELTS reading. So let me quickly also cover the IELTS reading module. What are the areas that students find it difficult or make mistakes when it comes to IELTS reading? The areas that students falter, especially certain question types in reading. Okay, so number one problem area is they're really not aware of what to do, what the instruction says. Because when it comes to your reading test, you might be required to write one word as the answer, or it could be a group of words as the answer. You might have to write a number as the answer. You might have to write letters as the answers. Letters meaning A, B, C, D, or it could also be Roman numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's important to clearly read the instructions. Number one, many students are unaware of this. That's one big reason why they lose out their scores. Number two, the question types. Now many question types are challenging for majority of the students, like the matching heading question types, true false not given question type, summary completion from a list of words given. So these question types are very challenging, and even at certain times multiple choice questions. So at this point, if you're not familiar with all the question types and the strategy, you might find reading really challenging because you'll not be able to finish all the 40 questions in the 1 hour's time. So make sure you're familiar with the instructions, you're familiar with the question types and the strategy that can be used. And do not stumble or stop if you come across a difficult word in your reading passage. It's quite natural for us to see, words here and there that we've never seen or we don't understand. It's okay. All you need to do is read around the word and try and guess the meaning and move ahead. And if you're stuck somewhere, this is the biggest problem students face. Let's say I've solved questions 1 to 10 and I'm in the 11th question. I'm unable to find the answer. So what do? I waste 5 to 10 minutes thinking over how I should answer question number 11. That is one big mistake. So when you stop at one particular question and try and find the answer and waste a lot of time, in the end, ultimately you will not be able to finish all the questions. So you're losing out. So do not get stuck at a place where you don't know. Move ahead. Come back later. Complete all the questions, all 40 questions, and then come back to any difficult question that you might have. Okay? On Facebook, I have a question from Brinto Divya, and Brinto asks, is it necessary to provide example for each body paragraph? Well, Brinto, let me put it out like this. I wouldn't say it is necessary or compulsory, but it's advisable because when you use an example, you can easily explain it. For instance, let's say the essay is about how can traffic problems be solved, and one solution I put forward is to encourage the use of public transport system. So imagine writing in the body paragraph a sentence like this. One of the best methods to reduce the number of private vehicles on road is to encourage the use of public transport. Now I've introduced the idea and now I need to expand it or develop it. So if I'm using an example, I need to be very specific. Like I can say, for example, when the Delhi metro was introduced, it helped reduce the number of private vehicles on road to a large extent. Many office goers and students in Delhi at present use the metro trains, and that has helped in reducing traffic congestion. So this is using an example. I am being very specific. I spoke about the Delhi metro. If I'm giving a very bland, let's say, a description or just a development of the idea, an explanation, I can also do it without an example. So I say one of the best methods to reduce the number of vehicles on road is to encourage the use of public transport system. Then I can say, to explain further, this means if public buses or trains are introduced, it is likely that more and more people will resort to using these public transport system, and thereby we can ensure that the number of private vehicles on road is reduced. This is an explanation, but the first one was an example. So I would say it's ideal, it's advisable to use an example. At least one in each paragraph should be good enough. But even if you don't use an example but you explain it, that should be good enough. But an explanation is important. Well, with that, I hope, Brinto, I've answered your question. And for any further queries and clarifications, I would definitely ask you to go to our MedCity Ielts app. I'll just show it to you once again before I wind up today's session. It's a super app. I would say it's a super app. It's a wonderful resource material. Like Augie has shared, he has already installed the app. I would want all of you to try out the app, and you just have to make the payment if you're happy with the free videos there. And I'm sure you will be, and you can have access to all our extensive video lessons and practice materials with a very small payment of around 500 rupees. So MedCity Ielts app is going to be truly your companion when it comes to preparing for the test. Another wonderful resource I would like to quickly share with you is Ielts Maestro, our reference book available for sale on our website, medcityinternationalacademy.com. You can also buy Ielts Maestro from Flipkart and Amazon, and this free delivery all over India. And hurry, because you have a 50% off on the price of the book as Independence Day offer. So if you purchase it now, you just have to pay half the price. Alright, so Brinto asks another question saying sometimes it's very hard to find examples. Well, Brinto, it could be challenging, and that's where the samples will help you. If you can refer to the Ielts Maestro, if you can refer to the video lessons I have on the Ielts app, it'll give you a lot of ideas onto how you can write examples. And a lot of it will definitely come with practice and a good trainer support. So if you're interested in taking Ielts preparation classes, you can join our sessions online, or you can also join our regular batches. We also have shift batches available for you across our branches. So get your seat booked right away if you're looking for Ielts preparation. I hope today's session was really resourceful. I hope I've been able to answer majority of the questions that are asked on YouTube and Facebook. But it's been a wonderful 1-hour session because a lot of good questions came up regarding the different modules. And we come live every Wednesday on the Ielts. So see you next Wednesday on another live session. Thank you so much for joining us in the session today.